I don't know what I'm going to say here, but I'm supposed to say it. So let me start off by saying that everything, and I'm not even wearing earrings, but whatever. So everything we do or experience in this life is supposed to give us pleasure or end in pleasure. Let me explain. So we come from pleasure, right? At least somebody had pleasure in the act. And whether we felt pleasure from the act, the person who or the people who brought us through the portal, I imagine that when the two the sperm and the egg had their interaction, that there was some kind of pleasure involved. But I know life is not a bed of roses, and that we go through things. I go through things. I have to do things that I don't necessarily want to do. And things happen. But ultimately, we are supposed to get to the point through this process of alchemizing ourselves to get to a point where we can alchemize the stuff. Basically have a mindset shift around what is required of us in this life. And so, for instance, the explanation, the thing I like to say, somebody steps on your brand new white sneakers, and you can either go off or you can see it in a different light. And you can either go off on the person or you can who stepped on your shoe, or you can turn it around into something that is not as I want to beat this person into a pulp because they stepped on my shoe, because all that is doing is giving you satisfaction, and satisfaction is not it doesn't give you pleasure ultimately. It's satisfying because that behavior of beating somebody to a pulp feeds a need in you to get that you're not addressing, or a need to do something to right a wrong that you think occurred. But if it's an accident, how was it wrong? Can argue that they should have been paying attention or whatever, but beating the person to a pulp or going off on them, cussing them out, whatever, it might make you feel good in the moment, but getting satisfaction for some wrong you think was committed against you is just like a band-aid, because it might leave you feeling good for a little bit, but it leaves everybody else feeling unbalanced. And then when you have a quiet moment and you think about, oh my gosh, what did I do? Then it's a whole different feeling. Like, for instance, when you realize or you find out why the event happened that required you to want to have satisfaction. Meanwhile, pleasure, on the other hand, allows you to enjoy life, It's a more calming process. It doesn't make anybody a victim. It doesn't make anybody a villain. It doesn't make anybody a victor. What I've learned is called the oppression triangle. That's a loop. When you eat a meal, or sometimes you're really truly hungry, but then we can eat to fill voids, and to satisfy something, but it's not necessarily evoking a positive outcome or emotion or really truly making you feel good. But when we work on, that mindset shift to where you can start to see everything in life, life events that are occurring for you as things that are happening for you instead of to you, and approach them in a way to where you're not going out of pocket with your reaction, but you're taking the time to take a breath and just understand why what is happening, then the pleasure comes out of it. It's like physical things that we do. We have to do things like defecate and so on, and I don't mean to be gross, but depending on how we treat our bodies, we can get to the point, in terms of what we eat and how we eat, we can get to the point where going to the bathroom is a pleasurable thing all around, whether it's number one or number two. And I know from experience that if I really need to go number one, it's such a release to let that stuff go I've been holding on to. That's a pleasure to let it go, and it can work similarly for the other thing. It can take some work, some detoxing and changing of diet and whatnot. But similarly, all other events in life are supposed to either be pleasurable, give us pleasure, or the end result should be pleasure, not because you got satisfaction from reacting in a certain way, but because you went at the situation mindfully. That's the word I was looking for. Mindfulness, and which involves breathing, actually paying attention to how you're breathing and your physiological response, your heart rate, if as one of my friends would say, your head starts to feel hot, allowing that to cool down so that you can think straight and not end up in a situation where you have regrets. So that's the pleasure principle, and that's the word or the words for today. Everything we do and or experience in this life is supposed to give us pleasure or end in pleasure. It's all about pleasure. It's all about getting back to your joy. And so, yeah. Thank you for listening, for watching, and Talk to you soon. Bye.